to assist people with physical and mental disabilities in sports. So again, great cause, great company, sodastick.com. Check them out. All right. Now, Steve, I'm giving you the mic. Just tell me your best New Orleans stories.
Well, first of all, I'm glad to be alive. The way that it works is that the Timberwolves give us the opportunity to go away with the team, and you fly on the jet with the team, and they put you in the hotels, and then you go to the games, and you have full access, and it is quite frankly a phenomenal opportunity. What's funny though is that what they do is they give you like handlers, and so my handler was a vice president named Jake Vernon, and putting him in charge of my safety is probably something that Ryan Tanke needs to reevaluate. And then to make it worse, he brought his guy, Ryan Davenport, which is even worse because he's crazy. And so it was like 10 of us, and we get to the Bourbon Street there. Now, Ryan, if you are Ryan Tanke, if you're listening, there was no alcohol purchased on any Timberwolves cards. Jake really did a good job. We visited libraries and all of the Institute of Art that we saw. There was museums. We got all that covered. So I don't want you to worry. And now you need to stop listening to this podcast. No, we got absolutely hammered. It was great. The Hurricane. I don't drink that much. Like I rarely drink, but the Hurricane is like Kool-Aid.
Yes.
And I think it has like 8 types of liquor. I don't know. I don't remember much. And then we went to this place, Cafe Du Monde. Is that how you say it? It's a famous place. It's like coffee and these beignets.
Beignets.
What is it? Beignets?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. It tasted really good, though. They're like donuts with the sugar thing. So the first thing that happens, we're there, and there's 2 tables. And we're eating, and it's like $12. Like, it's super cheap. And, of course, Jake, he's the corporate dude, so he's paying for everything, and they really take care of us. So we get done, and I see him pay the bill. And so I get up, and I'm walking out, and this lady comes running after me, and she's like, hey, come back here. You didn't pay your bill. And I'm like, whoa, like, what are you talking about? I turn around, and there was 2 tables, and so Jake was paying for both tables, and apparently he had only paid for 1 table because that's the only bill we got. So I'm at the wrong table. Now, Jake is gone. He's out the door, like down the street, and this lady is yelling at me like, you not pay. And I'm like, what in the world? So I start screaming, where is Jake? Where is Jake? And so pretty much for the rest of the trip, that was our fight song is, where's Jake? Where's Jake? Anytime the bill needs to be paid, he would run away. But the cooler story was, one of the nice things is when you're on these flights, you don't hang out with the players. I don't pretend to be friends with them, but you do get to know the coaches a little bit, management, security, things like that. And I've been on flights with Kurt Rambis. Like, we got to go back in the day here. Rick,
Adelman.
Adelman. These are not nice people. Just saying, But then you have Flip Saunders back in the day, and Flip would come back in the plane and just talk to you as humans. Just a great guy. And so I was kind of curious as to how this would be. This is my first flight with Ryan, and sure enough, as expected, he came back, and he was. This was after the Orlando game. We were flying from Orlando to New Orleans, and he goes, "Hey, thanks for supporting us. I'm really sorry we couldn't get the game for you tonight. The way we're going, we might need to suit you up for point guard, because we were down to the other guy." So he was, we chatted for a little bit. He talked to us and he goes back, and we're like, okay. So next day we're out front of the hotel. We're getting ready to go get coffee, and Ryan comes out and he's going to get coffee. And he comes up to the group and he looks at me and I go, Ryan, I'm ready. And I bend over and I kind of like fake dribble, and he goes, yeah, that's terrible. No way. And he walks off. And of course, my friends ripped me a new one from there on. So, great guy. Tying it back to just kind of the future. I will say from just a consumer standpoint, one, and we always joke that I look at Tibbs' ass. Ryan has a much smaller ass. I'm very happy about that. 1 is he sits down, 2 is he bends over, and 3, even when he's standing there, it is a lot smaller. So just from seeing it, and I will tell you, the team really does. They do like him. That's not fake. He is a good person. I have no idea if he's the future coach. That's above my pay grade. But as a fan, I just really like this team. I want them to win, but he's a good human. You want good things. The players are good people. You just wish they would get healthy, and let's see what we have. And with all of that goodwill, then it kind of goes back to, man, what is the future? Is Layden leading us? again, do you bring in a different GM and they're going to keep Ryan? I mean, I don't know what all that is, and it just seems like we're not going to make the playoffs. And then can you gauge what Ryan can do or not do when you don't have the players? And then that just leaves us another year. Are we going to try it for another year? I'm just kind of tired of the reboots.
Yeah, and this was always going to be a difficult reboot, especially if you're doing it in the middle of a season, just because of how much control Tibbs had over everything. And so when you take that away, man, it's difficult. And you're right. Like, look, I mean, I have a good relationship with Ryan. I think very highly of him. But the other part of it is that, one, we don't exactly know yet what you have in that coach just because of all the people that he's been missing. And so it's been hard to tell that way. But two, even let's say worst case scenario, they decide he wasn't ready yet. That's not even Ryan's fault. He's 32 years old. He was the third assistant, and he was elevated because the other assistants were so closely tied to Tibbs, and this team so desperately needed some other voice and some other direction. And just because, even if it weren't to work out right now, that doesn't mean in 4 years and 5 years when he's only 36, like he would be an incredibly young head coach if he were to be hired that way. But I do think that you are right about the team responding to him in terms of they want to follow him. Like Taj Gibson there was no bigger backer of Tibbs than Taj Gibson, and now Ryan Saunders may have no bigger backer than Taj Gibson. He loves him. And so when you're trying to evaluate, now you're looking at not only what's going on the court, but how is he connecting with these guys, and is this something that could be sustainable if he had more health and maybe even a little more talent on the roster?
I will say, just from watching up close as a fan, he is not overwhelmed.
Mm-mm.
Like,
right.
He's prepared. Like,
yeah.
He doesn't have the look like, I don't know what's happening or I don't know what to do. Now, again, I don't know if the plays he's drawing up are good or bad or whatever, but I will just tell you that he is a man of confidence, and he is a man with a point, and the players are listening to him. Now, again, when you got people you're signing to a 10-day contract at noon and they play 23 minutes that night, I mean, that's bigger issues. But I will just say, from an outsider's view, watching him, he seems to be up for the moment.
Yeah, and I think, some of the lineups he's running out right now are Isaiah Kanan and 4 power forwards. Like, in this modern NBA where everything is small, these are the lineups he's forced to use. And so, I've read some things lately, and it kind of trying to make a declaration about Ryan right now. And it's like, I don't know either, but we still have 27 games, and there can be a lot to happen. So I really think, you have to let the sample size get bigger before you decide, is he your guy or is he not your guy? Like, I don't agree with Sid right now that it's already been established that,
yes. You're telling me that Sid Hartman would back somebody just because he knows him?
I know,
him?
Shocking, right? They should just right now remove the interim tag and make him the permanent guy. Probably too quick for that. But it's also probably too quick to bury him and say, he's definitely not the guy. We need to go get someone else. I want to see these final 27 games, and I want to see even 2 of the injured guys come back and be able to play at a regular level. And then I think you'll have a better kind of picture on, okay, is he your coach going forward or is he not? Because I think he has a lot of the intangible tools to be the guy, but he does have to earn the job. He's got to show enough over these last 2 months to say that you're not just picking him by default. You're giving him the job because he earned it.
Reminder, if you buy from sodastick.com, when you buy from sodastick.com, use the promo code YouBetcha for free shipping on any size order. So you can just order one T-shirt, use the promo code YouBetcha, and you'll get free shipping on it. Pretty good deal. Also, I have to tell you, I just got to give you my all-time New Orleans story, and unfortunately, I can't remember my story, so I'm going to give you somebody else's. One of the great Royce stories of all time.
Yes, this is awesome.
In New Orleans. He covers the Super Bowl that was played down there.
Wasn't it the winter meetings? Baseball winter meetings?
I was told it was the Super Bowl, but okay.
Either one, doesn't matter.
Royce is in New Orleans in whenever, and he stays up all night, has a few pops. This is back when he was drinking, goes back to his hotel room, goes to bed, and last thing he does, picks the phone and calls down to the operator. Says, "Honey, I need a wake-up call for 8:30, okay? Okay, dear, give me a wake-up call for 8:30. Sir, I can't do that. What do you mean? This is a hotel, isn't it? Give me a wake-up call for 8:30. I'm sorry, sir, I can't do that. And Patrick gets a little mad, starts cussing at her a little bit, starts getting a little irate. And he says, "Why can't you do it?" She says, "Because, sir, it's already 8:45.
It's one of my all-time favorite stories.
It's a great story.
I had my bachelor party in New Orleans, and so, I've had some really, really good times down there. It was, it's an outstanding city, without a doubt.
And even if you're an old, boring guy like me, my wife and I will go down there and we'll just go to good restaurants and go walk around and look at the historical sites, go to the Garden District, go stalk the Manning household, It's a great place. Even if don't want to go to Bourbon Street and do stupid things, you can still really enjoy. And also, I will tell you this, best museum I've ever been to. I spent years going to museums in New York and D.C. The best museum I've ever been to, the World War II Museum in New Orleans.
Is that right?
Unbelievably good. It's so interactive. It captures the mood. It teaches you things, even as a history buff like myself, that I didn't know. It's fantastic. Yeah. So I highly recommend that. Tell you what, since we have you today, Steve, I'm going to let you ask Jon questions, let you two just have a conversation.
What is the difference between a GM and a president of basketball operations?
Well, a lot of times, sometimes it's semantics. So sometimes it's how a owner decides to structure his front office and just what he calls certain positions. In some organizations, a GM can be all-encompassing on the basketball side of things and have really authority over personnel, be the main face of your front office. A lot of other times we are seeing owners add presidents of basketball operations above the GM as sort of the figurehead type. And then the GM right underneath them is kind of the day-to-day grind guy, the salary cap manager, the guy who does a lot of the legwork with trade talks and with personnel moves and things like that. And whereas the president is sort of the guy who charts the vision for the franchise, the big picture basketball vision, and then he says, okay, here, you guys help me get to that point.
So I had this hurricane in New Orleans, and I was in my room, and I saw Thibodeau on ESPN, and I was fairly confident I was intoxicated. First of all, was he really on ESPN?
Yes, he was. You were not hallucinating.
Okay, so I was not hallucinating.
True.
And second, that's interesting.
Very. I mean, he obviously is not the media savvy guy, but
he did smile.
It's
first time I've ever seen that.
But I think a lot of coaches, no matter how media friendly or not they were, when they have nothing else to do, now they come circle around to the media side of things and get in. Now he is represented by CAA, who is one of the largest agencies in the world, and they also have a ton of people at ESPN. And so my guess is that his CAA agent called up ESPN and said, hey, we need to get this guy back out there. A lot of times they will just go out there to start rehabilitating the image a little bit to try and get people to move past. Here's the guy who was fired. Let's see how he looks at the game. So it's clear that that's probably a motive right now. And the one thing I'm just only slightly surprised about is that he hasn't done a sit down with an ESPN writer or something. What went wrong in Minnesota? Now, to his credit, I think he doesn't want to, especially during the season, maybe kind of upset the apple cart that way. He's never been that guy who lobbies publicly. Here's what happened. But sooner or later, we're going to see that. He might be waiting until the end of the season so he doesn't overshadow and force Ryan and Kat and everyone to say, hey, Tibbs said this. What do you think?
Is he still friends with Jimmy after what Jimmy did to him?
Yes, as crazy as it sounds. They are still close. Tibbs, I think to his detriment in that case, maybe to his benefit in others, really compartmentalizes things